We are finally Tuesday afternoon. It's been all day down in Hamilton after a bunch of other stuff with this phenomenal woman right here and her band. Please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, thank you so much, TJ, for having me on the show. I think
Of
it's
course.
great what you're doing, and yeah, just spreading music around and sort of sharing, as you said, the local scene. So I really like that. I think it's a great mission. And yeah, so my name is Loralee, and I'm from Hamilton, born and raised. My dad was a pastor, grew up very musical, and I started singing when I was three, and just so from there till now, there's been millions of things that have happened. But it's just yeah. So I'm a singer songwriter. I play lots of instruments, and I've conducted orchestras, bands, led choirs, and a whole bunch of stuff. So I love music, and it's just been, it's been a lifetime of many, many different things over, over. It just
So,
feels like I've almost
sorry to interrupt. I'm going to go
no
right
worries.
back to the beginning.
Okay,
Your father was a pastor. You grew up
that's
singing in the choir and stuff. So obviously
that's it.
that's where all your singing started from. How much has that been an influence up until now? Like that's obviously that's where you started, and I seen you today. I seen you sing. You carry that with you still to this day, right? So, uh,
Definitely.
can we indulge into that just a little bit before
Yeah,
we go on? Yeah,
for sure, for sure. I know, like you probably know the Aretha Franklin story,
of
but
course.
when you grow up in church and you have music surrounding you, and it's just always there. We sang even at the supper table. We sang in church. Went to church like 3, 5 times a week kind of thing. And in the
Hmm.
choirs, I was playing in an orchestra when I was 7, clarinet. So it's pretty young. Like everything started just, I was singing before I could speak, right? And so the group of us, the 5 girls, we would sing together we'd travel around. My dad would preach and we would sing. And yeah, and so the thing that got to me the most is when, like, I just love harmony. And when we have these gospel arrangements in a choir singing, and then I'd be the soloist or just part of the choir, whatever it was, it fed like my soul. I just felt so good singing this stuff. And then just being able to do that, sight reading in church, reading the hymnal, that type of thing, that got me into university because I actually didn't take any singing lessons before I went to university at all. And yeah, so it's just literally from the church, it's from like a huge exposure of music. I was a part of Vox Nouveau, which is Canada's top ensemble and choir and everything, and and we won gold in Canada 4 times. I think it was in a row. We sang
Oh,
with like
you know.
Michelle Wright and
Yeah.
Frank Mills, and we sang with Susan Gluckart, which was really cool at the Canadian Country Music Awards. So
No way.
from from a young age, like I was in competitions from, I guess I was probably 8 or 9 when I started competing,
Yeah.
and
So
and it just always came naturally.
when you started to compete, was that with the church and the choir competition, or was that on something separate?
I think the first festival I competed in was Kiwanis Music Festival,
Oh,
and we
okay.
had Kiwanis in Hamilton, Burlington, Toronto. I don't know if it's sort of worldwide, or I think so,
Hmm.
but yeah. So I think that was the first one. And I think that my first song that I competed with and won was "Somewhere Over the Rainbow." So,
No way.
yeah, yeah,
That's awesome.
great tune, Judy Garland. And now it's funny because I actually do a Judy Garland tribute show. And so, things just kind of come full circle. And one of my
Yeah.
favorite movies growing up, actually, it's funny, but The Sound of Music influenced me like you wouldn't believe. So I go into a Julie Andrews sort of thing, and I've got the
Oh,
wig and all that, and I dress up just like her. And the hills are alive with the sound of music. It just sort of comes naturally because, and so I started listening to her, and then the English accent started flowing, and people thought that I was from England, and I just thought it was kind of funny because I could put it on in a second. Uh, but yeah, so Julie Andrews literally inspired me. So that was, we didn't have TV. We only had black and white when I was like older, and my
yeah.
aunt she gave us 3 movies, and it was The Three Stooges, My Fair Lady, and The Sound of Music. That's all
We
we
were
had. So,
joking about Three Stooges today. They're sitting across the table from your bandmates today, right? Like,
oh, good old Danny, Neil, and Bill. Yeah, they've been playing together. What they say, 35 years.
yeah,
It's a long time.
like I know it was an honor to be invited down to watch you guys kind of. That was an exclusive show. They didn't even want to let me in until they realized who I was and stuff, right? And then they
Very
scooted me
exclusive.
in, and I got on just in time. You guys were just starting your set for the live
Oh,
competition. So I got to give a shout out to Hamilton and what they've done and what they're doing right now. Can you elaborate more on that for me, please? Like
absolutely. Mm.
what happened today? Like that was phenomenal, right? Like,
So the Hamilton Musicians Guild, it's a part of the union and the AFM. Hi, Kevin Moore. And so, so yeah, so they love me, I love them. We work together so well, and we have Brent and Larry, and they're so great. The new leaders, they've been the leaders for about 5 or 6 years, I think now, maybe more. And they've just done such a great job because they get the community involved. They get local artists, so people from Hamilton or surrounding area, like pretty
mhm.
close. And then they set up these things like today. So at the Casbah, they turned the stage into this, it felt like you went back in time almost, and with the
it,
old velvet curtains and
I've
the
got to
crazy
say, when I
lights.
walked in and it was empty because you're not allowed the crowds. So
You're
I
not
was
allowed
personally
it.
invited, thank you, by the way, to
You're
come
really
in
welcome.
and
Yeah.
look around. And I thought maybe there would be 50 people there. I didn't know the bar wasn't even, it was a complete exclusive today, you
Yeah.
know, and to talk to the guys behind the scene to see how that was going while you guys were playing. I took 155 photos today, by the way,
Oh,
while
did
you
you?
guys were
Okay.
playing. Yes, yeah. So,
Awesome.
yeah, I will
That's
do a
cool.
collage, do my thing, put up some of your live stuff as well, right? And make a little promo video. Fuck, that was my first live show in like 2.5 years, I guess.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
how long's it been since you guys have all played together then, with all the shit that's gone down and stuff?
So together, like as a live band, this is the
Well,
first
yeah,
time.
I know you
This
guys
is the
are all kind
first.
of mismatched. Today was kind of thrown together for you guys, and you wouldn't
Yeah.
even know it. Like you would think on my end, listening to it, you guys have been playing together for 35 years or 30 years together, but that
Well,
was
that's the
just
thing.
thrown
Yeah,
together,
they
was it?
just. Oh, well, I did organize it. I had a set list.
Of,
I had the keys. We messaged, we talked like over the phone and stuff.
of
But
course, right?
that's about it. We couldn't really meet in person because it's really difficult to do that anyway.
Hmm.
But these guys, they know what they're doing.
Oh,
Sometimes the less rehearsal the better for them because they're pros. They've been doing this forever. And so like Danny, the drummer, and the bass
yeah.
player Neil, they're so tight. They've been playing together in many different ways. So country bands as well as blues and R&B. Today it was soul and R&B. And Mark Laforme, he's one of Canada's like literally living legends because
Oh,
Stompin' Tom.
yeah, of
So
course.
Stompin' Tom
He's a
Connors.
legend here in Canada, man.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. God rest his soul. I mean,
I
it's
know. I
tragic,
wish
right?
I would have got to see him live. It's kind of I wasn't born in the time to be able to see him. I was, but I
Oh,
wasn't. Right? It's hard to
yeah,
say.
yeah.
Yeah.
I totally hear you. But yeah, so Mark actually played with him, toured with him for 9 years. He was the guitarist. That he
Wow. Eh?
sang with them, everything. So Stompin' Tom and Mark traveled together. He has stories that you wouldn't believe where
Oh.
like Tom wouldn't want to go to sleep. Like he always chose one of the band members to stay awake till about 5 or 6 in the morning, and he would just tell stories and stories and drink and stories the
Just
whole night.
of
And that
course.
was his, yeah, that's what he loved to do. So there's a lot of really cool stories, like from Mark and what he's saying,
See that?
working with Tom.
I gotta say today, sitting down with all you guys, because it's the first time you guys have actually like sat down in a long time together as well, right?
It
To
is, yeah.
watch that connection, and I never heard that stopping time. I didn't know that guy. Like, just to sit down with these legends such as yourself and your bandmates, like, and then just have a beer, eat some dinner, shoot the shit for what we sat there for an hour and a bit. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost mind blowing to come and have this conversation now and find out who these people really are in that sense, right? Like,
Yeah,
it's
like
got to be an
Bill and
honor to
Addie,
play
it's
with
just
these with everybody, right? Like,
it truly is. It truly is. Like, yeah, there's I haven't even touched on what the other guys have done, but
oh, I know.
some of the best things in Canada, like they have been on them. And like I mentioned, Bill Hull and Eddie, he's played with the Temptations, like in the same band. And he's played on some of the top exactly, right? Like
Yeah,
these are
right.
this is what they do. And they're pros, but they're so humble. They're amazing to
Oh,
work with,
just
And
sit
yeah.
down today and have beers with these people and yourself, obviously. Like, it almost, like I said, poof, blows my mind that I've actually got to sit and have. I had a few beers, we ate dinner. You know what I mean? Like, that's got it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's almost an
No.
honor for me, just in that sense alone, right? Like, I
Oh,
gotta
that's
thank
cool.
you again, by the way.
Oh, well, thank you so much for coming out. Like, I appreciate what you're doing because I firmly believe that, like my message to the world is basically to inspire and empower others for the greater good. So whatever that greater good is, like that's my mission. I just want everyone so like for music, it brings joy. It brings more than that. I believe it brings healing. Like, for example, just a month ago, I was performing at a retirement residence and I was allowed inside for like the first time in a
We
year and a half.
brushed
And it
on
was
this, but yeah,
right,
go on. Right?
exactly. And so inside it was different. And there was about 50 people, 50 of the residents, and they're anywhere between the ages of like 80 and 100, really. And this one gentleman, he was sitting there and 20 minutes in, he just started crying. And I was singing, "Could I have this dance for the rest of my life?
Oh,
Would you be?" So the little Anne Murray, right? And he just started weeping and just crying. And he didn't stop it. And he was crying for about 15, 20 minutes. And the nurse had to come over. And afterwards, she said that this was the first time that he let out emotion in 4 months. He didn't show like he
nothing.
wasn't he wasn't happy. He wasn't sad. He was
Just
nothing. And then all of a sudden, he just cried, and he was like his whole body was shaking. I was like a little worried actually.
yeah,
Yeah, I was
no
like, should I
doubt, though,
stop the
right?
concert right now? Because yeah,
Yeah.
but then after though, he thanked me and he said, "Thank you. You brought life into me again. For the first
Hmm.
time, I feel alive again, and that's what music can do, you
See,
know."
we've brushed on that since I've started doing the show about 8 months now. Amanda, my other partner in that sense, we've kind of separated in that sense where she's doing her own thing because she's so busy with all the bands we've had on and what she does on Sofa City Sounds. But it's a it's such a spiritual release in that sense. It's almost a
Mm,
lifesaver. Even
it is,
talking to
yeah.
Outlast, we brushed with it with Craven. The White Walls was a song that hit me personally, right? That emotional release when you hear the music, it's it's healing, as you said, or it's that release. You finally heard that song, and you can let go now. You know what I mean? You can let it out. Like,
Exactly. Yeah,
so
it's so true.
you sang a lot, you play a lot of instruments, you've done a lot of shows. Is there one song that you sing that just gets you while you're on stage? That, like,
Hmm.
right? Like,
Um, yeah. Well, there's actually a couple songs that do it for me, but "Bridge Over Troubled Waters" is one of them.
yeah,
Hmm.
great
And
song.
sometimes "Time to Say Goodbye."
You do that one as well, yeah?
I do, yeah.
Oh, that would be a hard one to sing for me too, right? Like, if I
Because
could
I'm asked
sing.
to do it at funerals a lot, though, like funerals
Yes.
and so then I sang it at my uncle's funeral. And yeah, I don't even. Some people ask, "How do you do it? How do you sing at funerals?" And it's really difficult
Hmm.
sometimes because, especially if I know the person. A friend of mine passed away, and he was only 47, too young, and of cancer
Of
and everything.
course.
And I wrote a song for him, and performed it at the funeral, and it was very difficult to get through that, but most often I can just kind of, not that I compartmentalize it, but I kind of do. I'm able to focus on the music, and then I let my emotion out after if need be or something,
Yeah,
right? But
kind of
yeah,
zone
so
out.
sometimes
You just it flows
well,
because
zone in. Yeah, yeah, it's like, because I don't want to cut off emotion. I think it's important to put that in, but you
yeah.
can't like be crying and singing at the same time. That doesn't work.
No, of
So
course not, though, right? Like,
yeah,
but with
exactly.
all these songs that you know, how do you remember all these words? Like, I don't even know what I said yesterday, you know? So that's
Well, you
gotta
know,
be,
yeah, that's a good question, actually. When I was 16, I remember I was just silly, but I asked for my birthday. I wanted two things. I wanted to, on the radio, Oldies 1150, I wanted them to play 16 Candles. And the second thing I asked for my birthday was a better memory, because I was like a sports girl. I was all athletic. That's all I wanted to do. And I was just like interested in that. And then when it came to school, I was like, I got stuff, but I didn't always remember everything. I didn't remember people's names, and so then I just did a little bit of research, and a gentleman came to our house, and he taught me how to memorize things. And he said the more senses you connect together at the same time, the more you're going to remember. And then you put it in a story, and you'll remember. And then morning.
oh,
uh,
that's my good friend. I talked to you about her, Daisy from South Africa, Stoner Daisy.
Hi, Daisy.
Yeah, she's the one that runs the podcast over there, right? So,
Oh, sweet.
yeah, yeah.
Awesome. So that's why it's morning for her.
Yeah, exactly, right.
Yeah.
We're kind
And
of
it's like
international in that way.
10:30 or something. That's
Not
cool.
too
I love
often I
it.
talk about that, right? But on the show itself, like, but we're
Mm.
more or less all over the world in that sense when we broadcast, right? So,
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so with the memory, so this guy, I remember
hmm
at the kitchen table, he sat in front of me, and his name was Ross Robbins, and he said, "You'll never forget my name." And I said, "Really?" And he's like, "No, you won't, because I'm going to tell you a story of a little robin that went and it made a little nest and it landed on my head. You see that? And it drew the letters Robbins on my forehead." And then I imagined it so much that I can still remember that second, that day when he told me this. So then I use that when I'm memorizing things. Music itself, it just helps me memorize things when it's put to music. But sometimes there's a lot of lyrics in songs. Like I had to learn Fancy, um, and that's a really hard song. There's so many lyrics in that one. It's an
oh,
entire story. Here's your one chance, Fancy, don't let me down. Oh, here's
oh,
your one. It's a great song, but there's a lot of lyrics, and same with like Loretta Lynn, Coal Miner's Daughter. That's like it's a
yeah.
really long
We
song
were
too.
talking about Dolly Parton and stuff at the dinner table tonight, right? Like,
Exactly, yeah.
uh, I
And
grew up
Dolly's
listening
songs,
to her, right? So
I find her songs so easy to memorize because they're really rhythmic. Like I've never had trouble memorizing her stuff,
they
but
just go, eh? Like it's almost
yeah,
they just like a train,
it's so rhythmic. Yeah, it's so
right?
rhythmic.
Like Johnny
Exactly.
Cash in that sense. I know every Johnny Cash song. It's here. I can blast it out whenever, right? But
There you go.
my
Yeah.
own songs, it's different every time I sing it because I don't quite
Oh, you
remember it.
change it
So
up?
yeah, every time, man. Every time I sing, it's always different with my own songs. I don't know why. It's just how I feel
Interesting.
in that moment as I'm playing, right?
I think
But
that's awesome.
the
You're creative, right? You're just letting the creative juices flow.
yeah, the riff's always not even always the same. I always play. Every time I play, it's different. Every time I play that one song or this song, it's always a bit different. There's always that change, whether it's the lyrics, the notes I
Hmm.
play, right?
Right. Wow. That's interesting. Because I know a lot of people, they play the same thing every single time. Like Bruce Tourney, for example, on the piano,
Yeah,
he is a machine.
I
Like,
noticed
I
that
played
today.
so many gigs with that guy, so many gigs. And he like a lot of musicians, professional, doesn't matter. They make
hmm
little errors, if you will. They just kind of change things by an accident.
Yeah,
Quite a lot though. Like there's a lot of those little things. But Bruce, he's a machine. He does it the exact same every single time.
That's
no matter what.
crazy.
And his tempo, you can start the metronome and then turn it off at the end. It'll be the exact same tempo. He is like out of this world. So, and I think everyone
But
is different, right?
like
Like
watching
he's
him play, you guys did that. Was it Stevie? Not Stevie Wonder.
Stevie Wonder, yeah,
It was. That's
superstition, yeah.
okay. Yeah, man. He did that. He leaned back when he sang. That was. I put my like it was hard not to just put my phone down and not take pictures, not take video, and just enjoy what you guys were doing today, right? Like
uh,
you could see the passion in everybody on stage, like right from the bass player, fucking just jamming away, fucking. It was phenomenal, man. Like I can't thank you enough for that. But
oh, I'm so glad
I
you
forget
made
where I
it,
was going now. I
Well,
was
just
going
how
somewhere with
how
that.
he's such, yeah, Bruce Turner, he's such a machine, right? I mean, he's
Yeah,
just like he locks into the groove and it is just it's right on. Like you never I like to play with him because I don't have to worry. I never worry.
yeah.
I'm like I know as soon as we say a song, he locks it in, he plays, it's perfect. And there's not a lot of guys kind of figure it out and then they get in there, but he's just perfect
No,
really in a lot of ways.
on that
But it has
note,
been hard for the musicians though
oh,
nowadays, because
we were
yeah,
talking about that. Like even after you left, we got back on the subject on how hard it's been, how to, and then I'm trying to build a stage. I have another stage. You guys will be playing on that very soon. Hopefully, we'll talk a little more backstage about that, right? But
awesome.
like, how do we turn this around? How do we bring the fucking industry back? I was talking to the guys backstage that own the bar, the promoter of the event you guys had today, and they're like, "What was it? 85 venues just in Hamilton alone closed down, right?
Yeah,
Barry
I
shut
know,
down, basically. Like,
it's crazy. Yeah.
where do we go from
So,
here, right?"
well, what we need to do is I think we need to educate people and let them know that we need their support right now. Like we need fundraisers and drives for musicians and theaters and because like even a way I was thinking to promote and to help musicians is just like buy their albums.
Hey, hold
That's
that
a way
up a
to
little
do
bit
it though.
higher there, my friend. Fucking,
There you go. Can you see
this is
it?
your merch. Where do we
This
find
is
your merch?
this
Where do
is
we
mine
buy
on
that?
iTunes, Spotify, anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's everywhere and
or
anywhere then.
and I still have quite a few copies left.
Yeah, I
Um,
did. I wish I would have known. I would have told you to bring me one. I would have bought it and got you to sign
oh,
it and shit for me, right? So
well, I can sign
August.
one and send it to you in the mail.
No, no.
How's
When
that?
you play in August for us here, I'll get you to bring. If you get, do you have vinyl? I know I was looking at vinyl earlier today with you, right? So
I know, right? Brent has his vinyl, and I'm going to do the vinyl, but I haven't
hmm
yet, because it's actually really expensive. Like to do,
it is.
I was gonna do a short run of vinyl, like 100 or something,
Yeah.
um, because just to do, I was like, okay, maybe I'll get 50 or 100 or something, but I think it was like $30 each for like one vinyl. So
Yeah. Right.
you'd have to sell them for like 40 or more.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a lot. So if you did like 500, then it would be like 20 a piece or something. But still, that's a lot. That's like
No,
$10,000.
no,
So
exactly. And then where are you pulling that out of? You know what I mean? Like
I know.
we
Yeah.
were, we I kind of brushed with the other guys too and yourself when it comes down to you've always been a musician, and then all of a sudden,
Always.
poof, it's
Yeah.
fuck. Now you got to kind of get a job in that sense.
I know. I still fight that
Do
because
you?
oh yeah, I mean, like I'm teaching online, and I do some teaching online, but a lot of the teachers I talk to, it's very difficult to teach online because music has to be in time, and so they're
Yes.
playing 1 second behind you, or vice versa in front of you, and so the time is never right, and so it's very difficult. I mean, I rise to the challenge, and I still teach, and able to actually, I just had three students graduate like RCM, so they get to the next level. One's in grade six piano, one's going into grade three, one's going into grade two piano.
Oh,
So,
so you have a
um,
whole range of students that you're working with then.
oh yeah, I love it.
Oh,
Yeah, I was just teaching today actually the Warsaw Concerto on the piano, and it's like, and so I love it. I love it. But yeah, these crazy piano fingers. It's they come in
hey, I got
they
a
come
pretty
in
good
used for
stretch
something.
too, right? So,
Exactly. I know
you're
those
right.
hands,
Yeah, I'm gonna be
but
hiring
it
you
comes
to
in
teach
handy.
me how to play because that was the one thing my family growing up like yourself, kind of in the church when I was younger, the choir, watching my sister sing, watching my uncle and all them sing, my aunts all sing. They all play piano. Nobody would show me a tune on the piano, so I just fucking would sit down and just make noise for a bit. But then I have an ear for music, obviously, and I fucking just started writing my own shit on the piano. But it's been so long. I would like to know how to actually play the piano. That would be nice, right?
Yeah, for sure. My brother and I were actually coming up with a piano app. So it would be like lessons through the piano app. And then if you wanted to
What?
learn a certain song, then I would have
Breaking
it
news.
pre-recorded. Yeah, I know. My brother's actually he's like a crazy genius. He does IT like stuff for all around the world, but he also makes robots for a living and writes software for now my sister's company, which is
Oh,
called Catalytics, because she's an engineer and a doctor, a vet. So
yeah.
she's put those together. So yeah, they're just so smart. But yeah, we're making some apps for teaching piano, um, and and so that's going to be online. But then it goes with the lesson. So you have a lesson and the piano app together, kind of thing. So it's very different. So the app can actually listen to you play and say if it's correct or not, that kind of thing. So it's
Hold
like the
this
next
note
level of software.
half a step longer, or kind
Yeah,
of
have a meeting.
guide you on the note itself. Then, right? Like,
Yeah, it's very difficult to have this work for different pianos though, because some are
cool.
playing on these like tiny little pianos and stuff that, so if you work, it works right now for a grand piano or something that sounds like a real piano.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, digital, if you get a roll in,
Yeah, some
anything.
kids I know growing up, we had a little keyboard. It was like this. You had your middle C, but you only had like 10 notes, 15 notes either side of it, right? So
Yeah,
you were
I know
very
it's not
limited
much.
on what you could do, in that sense.
And there's not the real touch, right? You should have weighted
Yes.
keys.
Oh,
But
there's nothing like well, touching a real piano and feeling that vibration come all the way through your finger, all the
that's
way through
true.
your body, right? Like, now,
It's true,
as a
yeah.
singer, I should have. My sister's a singer. I know so many singers, but I'm going to ask you this first time I've asked this. When you hit that note, does that resonate through your whole body?
Absolutely, yeah.
It
And
does,
that's
eh?
why I didn't like opera, like growing up. I didn't
Hmm.
listen to it. I thought it was kind of, just not me. But then I
Yeah.
was forced to sing it when I started university. Um, Hi, Allison. Where are you from? So she had
Dundalk,
me
that's
sing. Oh, well, there you go.
where
Perfect.
we're going to be playing soon.
Love it. Yeah, and so my voice teacher, Lita Klassen, she asked me to sing O mio babino caro, and I didn't want to. And it was like 4 months. She was like, "Sing this," and I'm like, no. And I'm like, it just did not resonate with me at all. And then I went to
Yeah.
the library at McMaster, and I sat down. I listened, and I'm like, okay, fine. I'm just gonna try it. And so then I was like, oh mio bambino caro, mi piacere. And then she's like, that's the voice. And I'm like, really? I was just mimicking her. And I realized I could mimic exactly like how, but I mimicked the technique. And then I started singing like this. And then I realized that there's this vocal column that goes all the way down,
Hmm.
kind of to this cradle position, as they call it, like the cradle. all the way up into the head voice here, right? So into the skull, and you're literally vibrating, like, and so your whole body does feel the resonance. And when I sing, like, opera is a full body experience, all the way from my feet to my head. Everything feels it because it's such a large resonating, like your
It
body is
just
the resonating
it's
cavity.
in tune
It's
with
like,
those notes. It's almost like that the opera was written for your whole body in
wow,
that sense, right? But, and
there you go.
could I be wrong? I'm probably
No, you're
wrong, but
absolutely right. No, that's a good quote. Opera was written for the whole body, and it really was, because you cannot sing, like, you can't actually sing an aria with just a part of your voice, a portion of your body, or portion of anything. You have to do the whole thing. It has to be the entire experience. So when
hmm
you see Pavarotti, right, the way he stands is called mountain pose, and it's
even
kind
as
of
you
like
said that, you sat up straight.
it's good for
You
your
know, like
posture. Yes.
right, like
But that's the thing, is you have to align, and I have to have, so my rib cage, I have to like expand it, and I keep it expanded the whole time. And then I lower the muscles here, so it's not just the diaphragm. People always think it's that, but it's all the muscles around there. So that all the abs, you expand them, and you're using that just like a bagpipe inside you.
oh
So that's what
wow,
it's like.
that's
You're
a
like a
good
bagpipe.
description actually, because I can picture the bagpipe. You know what I mean? But yeah, right.
Yeah, but it's so true, right? Like, because when you have that feeling of being full of air, then you use that properly. So it does take time for sure. But I remember not being able to really sing high notes with a lot of, like, I knew I could get them, but I just was, there was like a blockage. And then after
Yeah.
just about 5 6 months with Lita, I listened to that thing after 4 months. I practiced, I learned, I think it was three arias. And then she said, okay, I want you to audition for opera Hamilton. And I'm like, really? Already? And she's like, yeah, just do it. So I auditioned and I got in. And I'm like, oh,
Oh.
okay, so now I was a part of this opera chorus. I'm like, this is different, kind of fun. And I learned by ear, by sight, I could just kind of follow along. But they
hmm
thought I'd been singing, this kind of stuff for like 10 years. I'm like, it's been 2 months, you know? It's crazy. And then I slowly became, I actually won the Christine Stanton Scholarship, which is um, something that, damn,
Right.
I was surprised. And yeah, it was quite an honor because it was the most promising, like, up and coming, like, singer, I guess, of the opera at the time.
hmm
And um, but honestly, it's a God given thing. I do attribute it to kind of this divine gift that happens, and if you use it properly, then you get rewarded.
No,
You know,
exactly. The universe will give you what you need, but not what you want. And it's
you have to
whether
work
you
for it.
take what you need and you make that work, right? You'll never get more than you need. And then some people expect more, right? And then
Hmm.
they fall in that hole. Well, I didn't make $1 million singing this fucking song, right? But
Yeah, yeah. And so you just have to use what you're given,
no,
and
exactly.
good things
It,
happen, right? You never know. So, and then I was the representative for Opera Ontario for 5 years, and
oh,
just traveled around. Lincoln Alexander invited me to the private parties, and uh, but the thing is, I'm coming from this like pretty poor background. Actually, we were not rich growing up. We didn't
well,
feel poor. We had nothing though. Like, I
yeah,
was shopping
you
at a
grew
Value
up in
Village.
your father was a pastor and stuff, so you grew up within the church, right? Like it's not
Yeah,
like he
no
made a
money.
million dollars a year or anything. He wasn't Jimmy Swagger. You know what I mean? Like that
He wasn't Jimmy Swagger. No, but in
was
fact,
a big thing down
like,
south, man. So
oh,
right,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
He made $100 a month,
Oh,
for the family of seven. Um, but
oh,
our room and board, like the house was the parish kind of like associated with the church. It was
yeah,
paid for, but
yeah.
everything
Of
else
course,
was like
right.
basically like a
You
hundred
bought your
bucks
food. You
a
bought
month.
everything for all seven. plus
That's
him
it.
and his
Yeah.
wife, right? Like that's
Yeah.
that's
So
brutal,
literally,
man. That's
like,
hard.
we had a wood stove for real. Like, we didn't have a furnace. I remember sharing a room with my sister, and and in the winter, like, you know, it was cold when you wake up and there's snow on the window ledge, like there's just snow there. You're like, okay, freezing.
Yeah.
You know, I started working when I was 7 years old, and I did a paper route 6 days a week, 2 hours every day,
Oh,
and I got Carrier of the Year award. I didn't miss one day. I
what?
was not. That was the work ethic we had, though. You just worked and you
Yes,
worked
you did what needed
hard.
to be done, right? To earn that dollar,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. But it's like it's kind of survival. Like, if I wanted any treat or anything like that, I would buy it myself with my paper route money,
Yeah.
and that's it. You know,
No, my
nothing.
mom's
Everything else was hand me downs.
was pretty strict on like I worked at the fucking grocery store. I helped my buddies do their paper routes. When I was living down south, it was you worked in the restaurant, you tended the garden, you cut the grass, you fucking cleaned up the yard, you picked the peaches, you picked tobacco, whatever needed to be done, you had to do it
Hmm.
to earn your meal
It's
for
good
that
though,
day
yeah.
in that sense.
But
But
you learn like a work ethic that like, unfortunately, I don't want to say kids these days, but kind of a lot of kids
100%,
like
I will say it right
it's just
now.
different.
Kids
It's
these
really
days,
different.
you know,
Exactly. You might be, like, aging yourself, but it's not. It's just true. They like every kid I know has an iPad. Most have phones,
mhm.
at least an iPad though, and it's these are like hundreds of dollars, right? Sometimes
See,
$1,000 in their hands. And I'm like,
I would say you and I were probably the last generation, maybe kind of a year, couple years maybe behind
mm-hmm.
us, grew up without the internet. We ate dirt, we fell in the mud. As
And you
you're
came home
down.
when the street lights went on.
Yeah, right. Like, but
Yeah, we made
even the
teepees and
guys
mud
at
huts.
work, all the new kids at work and stuff, they've never been without nothing. And it's like, dude, they're bitching, saying this and that. It's like I listen and I just, yeah, yeah. But you know what, dude? I lived on the side of the road for a long time. I didn't have a home for a long time, right? Like I worked
Wow.
hard to just have the little bit of shit I have, man. And they still live at home. You know what I mean? Like,
Uh-huh.
and
Yeah.
they're working full time. They've been working full time with us for 2 years, and they still live at home. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
definitely a different generation nowadays, for sure.
It is, yeah. It really
But
is. For better,
you
for
go
worse.
back, like my grandparents, even Mima and Papa, my grandparents here in Canada, they lived in a dirt floor home. You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
so
They know what tough living's all about. And this is
exactly
why,
right.
like, on the weekends, I'll take my son and his little friend up to the trailer park,
Hmm.
and they don't ask for their tablets, not once. They don't, because they're out. They catch Hudson caught the tiniest little, like, toad, little frog, whatever ever, and it was like this size, so cute. And then we catch fish, and we just do like that, just nature stuff. They made a teepee out of these sticks and stuff, and
Yeah,
that's what it should be about. But you have to, like, when I'm at the trailer park, it's like that. But then when we
yeah.
come here, back home,
Well, they're
and
on
then it's just
Wi-Fi
all
now,
on
right?
there. I know my son was actually thinking, he's like, Mom, you should put a satellite. He just turned 8 too. He's like,
I was
you
gonna
should put a
ask you how
satellite
old's
on
your
your
boy, bro?
car. He's 8. Put a satellite on your car, and then I can have Wi-Fi when we're driving. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, really? When we're driving, you need it too? It's like, yeah, my game doesn't work. No, you're
Right.
I'm not putting
I
a
gave
satellite on my car.
up my
But it's a
data
smart
not long
idea.
ago. Couple months, probably almost 6 months ago, I guess. Not even a couple months. About 6 months ago, I said, "Fuck my data." Right. I don't need to be bothered while I'm driving or when I'm working and stuff. Right. Especially with the show, you get a lot of emails, a lot of messages. But sometimes you got
Yeah,
to disconnect, though, man.
you do.
You know,
You do, for sure.
and just I've
It's
talked about this
healthy.
with Helena, walk all the way from Athens, Greece. We were talking about putting our hands in the soil, falling in the river, swimming in a pond and shit, right? Like reconnect with the earth,
Yeah,
you know.
absolutely. Yeah, you actually feel better. There's like some feel good things, and one is like dancing, another is listening
Oh,
to music, singing, another is like
yes.
touching the ground, though, like in gardening. You do actually you feel better, and we need to have that connection, I think. It makes a lot of
Oh,
sense to do that.
I 100% agree. I know down south we always had a garden. Here in Canada, my grandparents they had the farm, so there was a garden. We always hayed, grain. There was always work to do. Put your hands in the dirt, and then for a while there, I lost my connection, with that. And then probably about 5, 6 years ago, when I started working with the railroad, I got back in touch with touching the dirt. We'd be out in the middle of fucking nowhere, nothing else to do but touch dirt and drink whatever booze you brought with you.
Oh my
So,
goodness. Well, that's what it's all about, though. That's just that connection. We need that. So it makes sense that you feel
mhm.
better, right?
So I know last 2 years have been rough. Like, how have you kept your connection with the music? Like, have you sang the whole time, whether it's in the car, while you're doing dishes? Like, how have you
I don't
stayed
like
practiced
dishes.
to be able to sing like you did today? Because that you can't just stop and then sing again. So,
It's true. The voice needs to stay in shape, and so I'm very grateful for one of my agents, Tristan Alexander. A little shout out to him. He's kept me busy,
of
and
course.
so last year he had me doing uh, sometimes one or two gigs a week still, and
Oh,
I was one of the few musicians still gigging, and it was outside. Um, and but that's okay. It was usually pretty close, and it was like an hour, and I would do a whole hour show as Patsy Cline or
I
as Tammy Wynette or Julie Andrews.
was gonna say,
Um,
don't do the accent, man. That's killer.
it always comes out as soon as I start talking about her.
Oh, you
Anyhow,
can't help it, right?
I can't help it. But yeah, so he kept me pretty busy. So I'm so thankful for that. And then I had a few other gigs um, so I was pretty busy though. Like honestly, between that and then in October, I started like doing the HVAC thing.
hmm
Um, because I realized it's going to be a long time before I actually start, making money in music. So
Again,
I have
yeah.
to have something else.
We were
Yeah.
laughing
So
about that earlier,
yeah,
right?
it's okay. I mean, I love it actually. My brain is the type of brain that I need to keep it challenged, and that's what I realized. As soon as everything shut down, I didn't even want to look at my email anymore because it was just red cancellation, cancellation, cancellation. This
Oh,
theater
I
closed.
know how
Like,
you
oh,
feel.
it's just
That's all I
depressing.
seen too. Like all of a sudden,
I
yeah, I
know.
can't go here. I'm not flying to Germany. I'm not going to fucking Spain. I'm not going to England. Right? Like,
Everything canceled. It
ah,
was like, what is
over.
happening?
I
And
know,
I
right?
know. So then you just feel like, okay, this is like the end of the world. And I was trying to keep up hope. I'm a pretty hopeful, positive person. But then and so for the most part, I'm like, okay, it's going to happen again. Everything, I'm keeping my clothes out, keeping my wigs fresh, you
Yeah.
know, because I have about 22 wigs. And you just have to keep them nice and, fresh. Otherwise, anyway, that's
Yeah.
a whole nother wig
That's the
story. Dolly
whole
Parton would understand.
next show. We'll cover your wigs. We'll cover the
Yeah,
maintenance
I'll
on
do
all
a
your
different
gear
one.
and stuff. Yeah. Right.
But you have to keep playing your guitar. You have to keep playing the piano. You have to keep singing. Otherwise, you do lose a little bit of the dexterity, agility, strength, and everything. You have to
hmm
keep it up. So I'm so grateful that I was playing to retirement homes or to different like little venues. I did Zoom online things, birthday parties, outside concerts, and so there was a variety of things. This one girl asked me to come for her 17th birthday, and I dressed up as Cher.
No
Um,
way.
and yeah, that's another one that I do. And and so I did an hour concert for her as Cher, and it was a lot of
Wow.
fun. And that was just in her driveway. So driveway gigs, you know.
Right? That's fucking
So I've done like everything now. Like it's just
yeah.
crazy. I can't believe how many different things.
Well,
Um,
we were laughing earlier, eating dinner and stuff, and having a few drinks about weirdest ways you've been paid, and you were like, "I got paid a gas card." Right?
I've been paid with gas cards. Oh, I also was paid. Um, we thought we were getting about $200 for this one gig, and I'm not going to name any names,
No, of
but
course not. Right?
it was like a month later, and no one had gotten paid in the band. And we're like, okay, so this would be a great time. Everyone's bugging the leader, like, when are we getting paid? And then finally he calls me. He's like, all right, I have something figured out. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, okay, how would you feel about me writing you a tax receipt? And I'm like, what do you mean?
The,
A tax
yeah.
receipt? You can't even make this stuff up. Like, what? Yeah, I'm going to write you a tax receipt for $250. Then you can claim it. I'm like, no. What?
Just give me
Like, how?
250 bucks
Give me
cash, bud.
200. I know. So clearly he wasn't, going to be paid. He's like, well, I can give you about $25. I'm like, that's insane. I
No,
no.
you
25.
can't even drive to his house and back again for $25, right? Like,
Oh my gosh, I know. Yeah.
oh,
And it was a big gig too. It was like and so the whole band they were kind of upset about that one. Uh,
that's
and I'm
got
like
to
a
be the
tax receipt.
challenge, though. Like, I know the guys that were with you today and everything. They're playing in multiple bands and stuff. Like, it's got to be a challenge to keep everything all together. And like when you go live and you bring these guys on board, say, do you set the set list on what you're going to sing and what you're going to do, or do you guys kind of
Yeah,
sit
for
down as
this
a
one.
group?
Well, for this one, I've already like we've done the Soul Cats gig. It was initiated by Tava,
Hmm.
and so there's still tunes that we were doing way back when, like 10 years ago. Um, we didn't do "Son of a Preacher Man" today, but like "Superstition," for
I,
example, that was
I
on the set
really
list
wish
ten
you
years ago.
did "Son of a Preacher Man" today, man. That would have been
Oh,
my highlight of the day, right? But you
oh, really? I was thinking of
Superstition,
doing it. I was like, yeah,
yeah,
like
you guys
"Superstition." That
crushed
was
it.
a Yeah, that's Bruce there for you, and Mark just plays a wicked guitar. Like he's so good,
He
and
was
then
so
Neil holds
smooth.
down. Hmm.
Every bit he played, like it was like I said, hard just not to set my phone in the fucking garbage and just watch you guys play today and just enjoy,
Oh,
right? Like,
Mark LaForme, and his voice. I think his voice is killer. Like he was actually worried a little bit, like because it's been a long time since any of us have played in a band. I've done a lot of solo
mhm.
stuff, a couple duet things. That's it. But with a whole band, it's different. But as soon as we started playing, as soon as that, Danny counts us in and we go, it's just easy.
Like the
It's easy. It's as though we've been, like it's as though 2 years never happened. And
yeah,
and that was actually such a good feeling for me because I was like, I remember this, it's like bam, it's just you're right back there. And that doesn't you don't know kind of what music does, but it
no,
triggers more parts and it lights up more parts of the brain than anything else music does. Um, and so I think that's so true. That's why you can remember lyrics to a lot of things, maybe not everything, but as soon as the song starts, like, hi, Kevin. Like Proud Mary, for example.
no,
We
right?
were, yeah, they were doing Stand By Me, and then we did Proud Mary, for example, today.
Yeah,
And and as soon as Stand By Me started, I was like into it, I was like grooving with it. And then I looked at the set list and Proud Mary, and honestly what went through my head, I was like, what's the first line? Like I I was like, what's the first line? Is it cleaned a lot of plates in Memphis? No. Anyway, so I'm like, Stand By Me, still going, but that's what I was
go
thinking.
through,
I'm like,
right?
oh my gosh, what is it? I don't use lyrics in front of me really.
Hmm.
But I was like, what is it? Anyway, so then the song starts, and as soon as it started, I'm like, bam, I know it. Left a good job in the city, working for the men, and it was fine, and everything's fine, and I know every single word. Um, but it's
It's that
interesting because I
first
have to
word, though, eh?
hear, well, I have to hear the bass line, or I have to hear just just literally one bar, and then I'm good.
Yeah.
But if I'm in another song and then I think about another song, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's when it's weird. But as soon as the actual song starts, I know everything because the tempo, the melody, the groove, the riff that's happening, or whatever it is, like it triggers the entire memory and it's there.
Poof. It
Yeah,
now all of a
it's like
sudden you get
magic.
that first note just and now you're on. Poof, I know this song instantly,
Yeah,
right? Like
instantly. It
I
really it's
know
like magical.
it is though. When you hit that right note as a guitar player and like I said, a few other instruments, like they hit that right note, it's gold. you know.
Mhm.
Yeah, and you can't do wrong after that as far as that song goes, like so where do you draw a lot of your inspiration now from? Like, I
Hmm.
know you both grew up listening to all the old school stuff and that, right? But like, who's new on your radar? Who are you listening to being like, yeah, they're awesome? This this
Yeah.
person can
Well,
sing, this band is great.
um, you know what? It's actually my son. My when he was like 5 years old, he got into Imagine Dragons, and he's a cool kid. Like he has really good taste in everything. Even his clothes he picks up. Anyway, but yeah, he's just a cool kid, and so he loves Imagine Dragons, and then I started listening to them a little more attentively, and I'm like, they're really good. I like it. And then he listens to Kygo as well, and Kygo takes older songs and then kind of makes them new and like dancey, poppy kind of stuff, right? So they take the Whitney Houston and then they make her songs new again in a way, or they take like Jackie Wilson Higher and then they make their own spin on it, and it's so good. So like my son has been inspiring me with the music he listens to, and I never thought that was gonna happen. I thought I was gonna inspire him,
Of
but
course,
no,
right? Like you always
he's
think,
pretty set in his ways. Like already, he knows
yeah.
what he likes, and yeah, and he has a very strong reason for what he likes and why. Yeah, he likes it. So, um, but yeah, so
That's
those are
where
two new ones.
the oh, sorry to interrupt. The amazing part about music, whether you're fucking this age, that age, this generation, or that generation, that passion that comes with hearing those notes, hearing those lyrics, right? Watching those people play that song, it it overwhelms everything, just trumps everything in that sense, right? Like it
Hmm.
bridges the gap to, you know, like it's kind of a bonding experience for you and your boy, right? Like with
Yeah,
music.
yeah. So then I taught him like Believer, just the piano line to that.
No way.
Um, yeah, and then just a young blood in the wound. I think they have a really good groove and good lyrics, and it's interesting, melody and harmonies and chord progressions and stuff. So and then so when I'm teaching, I actually get inspired by my students. Like one of my students was really into Ariana Grande, and not that I don't listen to pop music, but um, I don't necessarily pay a lot of attention to things I don't have to learn. Like I
I
usually
understand
when the gigs start,
that.
yeah. So I hear the songs but Ed Sheeran, I love him. God, you gotta love him, right? Like he's just a great songwriter, great singer. And then um, John Legend, or just like or Uptown Funk or something. Like there's
Oh,
some
yeah,
really
yeah.
great bands out, and our Canadian The Weekend, right? He played at the Super Bowl, and he did a fabulous job. And these are people that I just find fascinating. When I started doing Lady Gaga, I was asked to do um, yeah, different tributes of like shows for and do
No,
her.
it's. I didn't mean to laugh. It's because the waitress today asked you who you were,
Oh, I know.
like how famous you were, whether it was Cheryl Crow, Lady Gaga, or fucking Cher, right?
Yeah, I know.
So
I know. Yeah, I have a strange face, and it's kind of like it looks like something, but I'm not really sure.
It's not strange.
And
It's
it's
very
okay. I don't know.
distinguished, I would say. It's very unique too. You don't really get that a lot in that sense.
Hmm.
I don't want to
Yeah,
be
it's like
like it's,
no, that's okay. Like if I dress up like Cher though, I have a very very
but
similar.
Cher has that narrow, that very distinct face as well, right? Like
Yeah,
it's,
yeah, I guess.
I
um,
don't want to go into like detail about it, like, but
no, no, that's okay. It's all good. I've just I'm used to a lot of people. Like I can't hide even if I wanted to. I put on different
no,
wigs, I
right?
try different makeup and everything, but even still, it's always going to be, um, you know,
I know
it's
you, right? Like
yeah,
people
everyone,
point,
they know me, know me.
right?
I can't exactly. I wouldn't be a very good undercover spy because they could
No, no,
tell
right?
who I am.
So
So that's okay.
we were sitting around shooting the shit, and you got some Celtic stuff coming up that you're doing. Are we allowed to
Exactly,
talk
I
that by any
do.
chance, or?
Yeah, for sure. So that is going to
Oh,
be, yeah, that's going to be this Thursday, and I'm playing bass for the Celtic band QTS called the Swell, and yeah, so it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's just like Celtic band stuff. So basically, you're um, to Run Runaway, if you know that Black Velvet Band, Fields of Athenry, Night Pat Murphy Died,
yeah.
that kind of stuff, right? So
I
a
know I
lot
love
of
my metal and stuff, but I do know a fair bit about music. I've heard a few things, right?
exactly, yeah. So that's what's happening. That's gonna be Thursday, 3 p.m. at the same place. So yeah, and that's with Tom Gassenbeek. So he's a fiddle player, but he's actually like plays with the symphony as well. He's really
Oh,
talented. Yeah, so it's really cool. I just found a picture here of me as Cher. I don't know if you can see it,
what? You gotta send that
but
to me. That looks
so that's
pretty
me
close,
as
though.
Cher.
What I can see,
It's kind of a weird.
yeah.
Anyway,
No, that's
yeah, you just put so
fantastic.
that's a different wig, but you can tell
So,
how it works, right?
you do your own music as well? Have you ever just sat down and kind of composed your own things and
Yeah,
just
I write stuff
belt
all the
that
time,
shit out
actually.
live once in a while? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. So like on Birdland, I
I
have a
know.
CD here as well, but on the back, so like for example, number 7 is Old Country Woman, and I wrote that song actually for my bird. And
What
because
kind
I
of
was
bird?
away from her, she's a green cheeked conure, a little parrot, like a tiny
Okay.
little parrot. And she
Yeah.
is so cute. Her name is Dolce, Dolce Bella Animato. And I've had her for now 14, 13, 14 years. It's a long time.
Oh, they're a lifetime pet.
25 years, basically,
Yeah,
yeah,
man.
for
Like
her.
that's 25 to life.
Um,
Or, you know.
I know, right? And she is so awesome. Like she gets me, I get her. And I'll come home, she's like, superstar. She says that. She literally says superstar. And then I put on my finger, I put on my shoulder, and then she kind of snuggles in and she'll just sit
No.
like that as I'm like doing stuff, the dishes or whatever.
Yeah.
And she'll want whatever I'm eating, and she likes little baths, and she's just so cute. But I was away from her for 2 weeks, and I was coming home driving on this country road, and I'm like, I'm coming home to see my baby. I'm coming home to see my girl. It's been far too long. Anyway, so I started writing this song about missing my bird. And sure enough, it actually, like, we developed it and it made it onto this album. And Guido Basso is playing a solo on it. So is Bill
Oh,
Hollinati, you saw him today, the saxophone. He's playing a solo on it. And it
yeah.
is crazy good. Every time I listen
Oh,
to it, I'm like, whoa, that was amazing. Like,
that was
I'm
him
blown away by
today
what they played.
on the saxophone then?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, fuck. That was phenomenal to watch him just almost every song you guys did, he had a little solo he could fucking pop out and
Of
fucking
course.
blast the tune, right? Like, it was phenomenal.
Oh, he's the best. He's honestly just so good. He's been playing forever. He can play just about any style. He likes R&B and blues though, like because then you can wail. He does
Yeah.
jazz as well. But he was a professor, right? Like he knows the instrument inside and out, but all
He
woodwinds,
knows
so he
every
plays
note, everything that
alto,
flows with
tenor,
it, eh?
clarinet, everything. Yeah. But he knows the theory behind it and the practical, and he's just got a great ear. So, um, yeah. So Bill, he's on the album as well.
So what's in the future for you? Like what's happening? What's going on?
All right, yeah. Well, I speaking of original music,
Yeah.
I'm working on an original album, and I have tons of songs. I think I looked at my computer, and I think there's 425 songs.
Only,
And so
right? We got
I have to
30
choose like
albums.
12 of those.
All
Well,
right.
maybe it should be a lifetime like goal. Um, but that's the hard thing is like choosing 12 that are
Hmm.
coherent and like kind of tell a story somehow or something. Yeah, so that's a part of it for sure.
Kind
As
of
well as like
sorry, kind of
yeah, go
something I
ahead.
look forward to in albums is that story, whether it's a progression start to finish or that concept that goes with the album.
Hmm.
Something they've lost along the way. It's just one song after another. They don't even go together. Why
Yeah,
am I
they have like
listening
a
to this
single, they
album?
release it. Well,
Eh,
that's the
eh,
thing. Yeah,
you
with
know?
Birdland, I really tried to have because I get bored easily, so I just do,
Yeah.
right? But
Right.
that's good because in music, you don't want to get bored, right? You want to have something interesting to catch your ear and everything. So like on this album here, Birdland, because it was just released just before COVID, thank goodness. Um, but yeah, so on the album, like you hear one song, it goes into the next one, goes into the next one, but they're all so incredibly different with their arrangements, the stylization, like what we did. We took Girl from Ipanema and made it kind of just like this different kind of bossa that hasn't been done before. And You Don't Own Me, you know, Leslie Gore.
Yeah.
So we did this like ominous kind of thing. You don't own me. But then we also have Route 66, which is like an upbeat, like snap your fingers kind of thing. And then, so, so even on this album, I was thinking about that. I'm like, okay, we want to have some standards here, some natural woman's on it as well.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and I love that song. I love singing it. Um, and so there's a progression within that. And that matters to me. I listen to an album from start to finish, and I think that
I
is lost nowadays. It's just single after single, but
I
where's the
know.
storyline?
I preach that so much on my show all the time. Like I like to sit down and just hear the whole album, start to finish, man.
Exactly.
I hate skipping a song. I hate missing this beat. I hate missing that note. And it's so hard nowadays. And not so much in my position, but as like a normal viewer that doesn't get the privileges as us being in the business to be around these people that are producing this music. They don't get to hear that. They hear the radio version of everything. It's one
The
song,
radio version,
and
one song, that's it.
you
Yeah.
fucking hear it 100 times a day. Like it's terrible, man. It's not good. It's not healthy either. I don't think, right? Like,
Hmm. I like to listen to Sirius XM. I bought that for myself for my birthday last year
yeah. Oh.
um, because I just wanted to be able to tune into one station that played like it's all Beatles
Hmm.
on one channel. It's all Elvis on one channel. And then they have amazing, um, like these, I don't know if you would call them podcasters or Sirius XM casters, if you will, or whatever. But
Yeah.
then they go from one song to the next and they make their own storyline. And they had this countdown, Beatles 100 best songs, and they told all these different, stories about them, and how some of the songs were meant to be faster or meant to be slower, but they played them faster because uh, George decided to do that. And then it's like, oh, that's interesting. So then you kind of slow it down, um, and then you realize it's a totally different song,
Yeah.
right? So it's like it's kind of cool. But Sirius XM, so then you can kind of tune in, and so it's a different radio experience because on the
It's
radio right now, if you listen to 99.9, like it's just the top same 40 songs
yeah,
over and over.
every day,
And
7
yeah.
songs every hour, whatever the fuck it is they play. Like our buddies
Hmm.
over there at 97.7 with Joey Diaz, I believe is his full name or whatever. He mixes it up. He does a pretty good job, but he's only on once a day, twice a day. He does Saturday nights, Metal Beyond 11 or whatever it is, right? But our buddies over at Station Head, I think it's called, the radio app, Storm the
Hmm.
Empire. I got to give them a huge shout out. They'll be on here next month, I believe. I'll have to check my schedule. They've been on before, but they turned me on to it, and it's more like a independent radio kind of broadcasting where you can have your own station. And he runs one up, and they get to play whatever music they want, no holds bars, right? Like, and it's really refreshing to hear that. Yeah, I've learned so many
Yeah.
new tunes just from listening to those guys over there.
There you go. That's good. Well, it does take a really special like radio host to do that, though.
It's
They
so
can't
true
just
to
because they have to think. They can't just give in to peer pressure and popular pressure of just doing the top 40. They have to be
no,
willing to like have a greater mission of telling a story or being true to the music or the artist or the album itself.
yeah, it's no
Yeah,
different than us
absolutely.
here. Like, as much as I love my death metal, I love my hardcore, straight in your face, raw power. We just had
Hmm.
Deadwood on from Montreal, and they've got to be one of the heaviest, most honest bands when it comes to into your face power. And
Oh
then
wow.
tonight we have you. You know what I mean? Like, but I love both your musics. Like I love to hear them just do it. It just gets it out of me. But today to hear your voice, to watch you guys play together, feel that jive, it's the same feeling as when I put on Deadwood or whether I listen to Slayer or Dead Man's Prophecy, right? Late Night Trouble, Empire to More. I could go on and on. Cross Dog, you know.
Oh wow.
You guys are right there in the same category as far as music goes. Like for me,
Wow.
anyways, right?
That's cool.
But it's
Awesome.
the
It's great
passion
to
you
hear
put
that.
into how you sing and watch your buddy play the bass, watch him play the guitar and play the harmonica at the same time. It's
Phenomenal though. Yeah.
that same
Like these
passion.
players because it's groovy and it's you know what though I appreciate this kind of music like soul R&B and even the way he did My Girl, he did it like
Oh,
reggae style. So he
I
took
know.
this and he's like, we're gonna do My Girl, but we're gonna go to
My girl
Jamaica with
went to
it.
Mexico, I think is what he said, right?
It was something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic. I didn't know he was gonna do that.
No way. And you just
No idea.
just flowed with it,
But
eh?
as soon as he said that just little phrase, then all the band knew exactly we have to change it up. We're doing reggae now.
Mm-hmm.
So, but there was a lot of things that we didn't know ahead of time until it started.
See, that's phenomenal to me because I do a lot of improv playing when I all of a sudden I show up with this band, I bring my guitar, fuck, we're just jamming now, and you kind of got to flow with them and stuff in that sense. But you even
Hmm.
knowing today that you guys, even the way you did, um, it's my favorite fucking song almost all time. Ain't no sunshine,
Oh,
right?
there you go.
That was like a
Yeah, he did
reggae
that
beat too,
reggae style
man.
too. I
Right?
know, I know. We were not ready for that either, but he just did it, and we're like, okay, love
Yeah.
it. But um,
It
and that's
came
the
off good
thing.
though. That's one of my favorite tunes of all time. My favorite artist that sings is Sean James. And
Hmm.
then you guys definitely pulled it off today. I was not, it was impressive still. The way you guys played it and just because I knew it was on the fly. Because I already knew you
It
guys
was,
hadn't
yeah.
played together in a while, right? And but yet you guys have played together for 30 years on the same hand, and that, right? Like,
Not me. I'm not that
not
old.
you, no, not, but those guys for sure, right? Like they've
Those
all
cats,
jammed
yeah.
together. They've been tight for years now, right? Like,
So as soon as they just watch Mark, they know when he's starting, when he's ending. They know when he's breathing, what he's thinking. It's this other realm of, what do you call it, like ESP, when you can tell
consciousness.
someone's thoughts. Yeah, it's like another conscious level
Hmm.
because you're breathing together. And that's what the coolest thing about music is that I believe that we all have a kind of a rhythm,
Hmm.
and when music starts, it automatically puts everyone at the same rhythm, you know. And that doesn't usually happen. Humans are all over the place. We're all like
Oh,
scattered. But then when
yeah,
music
yeah.
starts, it kind of erases that, and it's like, whew, it puts us all at the same like playing field. You know, like we're actually joined together. Because I've traveled around. I went to Peru um,
Oh,
3 years
go
ago,
on.
and because the lady that was supposed to go, she got sick, she couldn't go. So I think it was like 2 weeks before the trip, they asked me to do this concert in Peru. And I said, okay, you're going to pay my way? That's fine, I'll go, right?
On
And
my way.
so
All
I will
right.
be there in Peru. And so we went to Pachacamac, which is called the Forgotten People, actually, and it was like desert. This because Peru is either jungle or desert, so we went to the
Yeah,
desert part.
that's in Chile and
And
stuff, right? Or like down South America, right?
South America, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, and Lima's where the airport is. We drove an hour out just to see the way these people live, like, and they're happy and they're
Oh,
grateful. But you talk about dirt floors and just like tin roofs and just these
can
little,
I ask you a question about down there? Because I've looked
yeah,
into
of course.
traveling from the top end all the way to the bottom end and back again on the bus tour, right? Where you just open bus ticket. Did you eat
Oh
guinea
yeah.
pig? Did you get to see them cooking guinea pig and stuff, or what?
There was like, Kentucky Fried Chicken
Yeah,
signs, but
man.
it was guinea pig,
Yeah, I
fried guinea
know,
pig. And
right?
I saw, and they had pictures basically just of a fried guinea pig. And I'm like, that's
Yeah,
disgusting.
they just kind of
I
skin it
didn't
real
try it.
quick, stick the stick
No,
through it, and fucking
I guess
twirl the
so.
stick, right? Did you
I did
try
not
it?
try that. I
Anything?
don't think so.
No.
I don't think so. I
I,
had like
I, I,
chicken soup, but who knows if it was really chicken.
hey man, I was in Cuba eating burgers, and then I realized after traveling all around Cuba, there's no cows here,
So what are
right?
you
Like,
eating?
what am I really eating, right? But it was delicious,
What are you eating?
right?
It's flavored like something. Yeah, you don't really know.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
I
all
love
about how you
Cuba though.
cook it,
I love Cuba.
prepare it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
No
I
different
don't
than
even
down
know what we
south.
were talking about with Peru.
Oh, they eat chitlins, which is like pig intestines and shit. You know what I mean? Like
Wow.
pig hoof, pig ears. I've ate pig ears. They were really delicious when you deep fry them and break them up, put some seasoning on them and stuff, right?
You
But
can deep fry anything, and I think it'll taste. In England, they deep fry Mars bars. It's like, how much
what?
more unhealthy can you get? They
What?
deep fry ice cream. They deep fry Mars bars. Anything.
No, I
Just deep
have
fry
had
it.
deep fried ice cream before, and it was
Have
packed with
you?
like brand or shreddies, I guess, all around it. And the
Oh,
way they deep fried it, it was delicious. But yeah, probably
I
lost a
I
year or
kind of
two of
wondered.
life eating that thing, right? Like
But was it worth it?
it was delicious. I
There
recommend it at
you
least once, right?
go. There you go.
So
Yeah. Well,
I got a million other questions. I'll give you two more, and then we'll see where that goes.
all right. All right. You're
Where
ready.
has been your favorite spot? You've been all around everywhere, traveling, singing, doing this and that. Where or what is your favorite venue kind of to play? Like, is it that
Um,
small 100 group person, or is it 6,000 people wide? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I love that. My favorite place, yeah, for me, the bigger the better.
yeah,
I'm kind of like that. Yeah. I mean, there's been some intimate. things that I've played at, some really beautiful weddings and stuff like that. That it's been great, really good memories. Whenever it means the most, like so, I sang at my friend Pam's wedding. I still remember it, and I wrote a song for her, and it was at the Scottish Rite, downtown Hamilton, which is used for movies a lot. It's a beautiful
Hmm.
place, and that would just like I just remember that because the Scottish Rite is made for it's like a little mini amphitheater kind of thing, and it's just meant for sound to travel. Um, and so I really enjoyed that.
It's like an old
Um,
Roman kind of fucking play area, the way that one's built, is it not?
yeah, kind of thing. Yeah, it's
It
really
has
old school.
yeah, the stage is low and then it rolls up, so everything kind of.
Exactly, they were smart in how they did it with the sound.
Hmm.
So I really enjoyed that. But I think like one of the biggest memories I have of it was just exhilarating. It stays with me still is when my friend Bettina and I were in Italy. We were in Verona and watching the opera Aida, and incredible moment already
Oh,
just to be there. But then what happened is it started just drizzling just a little bit. Well, immediately the cello player stands up, and then the violin, the whole symphony just stand up and leave. They're not getting water on their
oh,
beautiful wooden
no,
instruments.
man!
Right? They're out of
Like
there,
thirty
you
thousand
know.
dollar instruments,
Oh, or
if not
more,
more,
or more.
you know.
Yeah. So they're like, they're running, and then we're waiting there. We're waiting, and this is the outdoor amphitheater in Verona, the very famous one that many opera singers, Maria Callas Pavarotti, have graced the stage of this, right? And so I think it was 20,000 people or so that it could seat.
Oh,
Um, it's incredible, right? Just the way that it's created. Well, we're sitting there and it's not really raining, just a little bit. Everyone has their little umbrellas up, the whole thing. It looked kind of cool. And we're just waiting for them to come back on. Hopefully the rain will stop. And the rain was not stopping.
oh,
um, and it was just not too bad. So people were still sitting there just waiting because they paid a lot of money for this too.
oh, of course, that's
Anyway,
not cheap to sit there.
no, it's not. So then I heard to the left of me around I heard this guy just like pretending to sing a little bit like oh Salam, and then
Hmm.
and then it was like funny and then people were kind of looking over and then Bettina nudges me. She's like, sing something, we're bored, sing something.
Yeah.
And I'm like under my umbrella. So then I just kind of tried a little bit because it's kind of bold to just be sitting in your seat and start singing.
Hmm.
So I just sang a little bit. I was like, quando vengo, quando vengo. And then other people and the neighbors beside me kind of thing, they're like, sing louder, stand up. So I stood up, no umbrella, and everyone started turning and looking. And so I sang three arias like to at the top of my lungs and I filled that place and people were videotaping and they're
What?
and pictures and everyone was crowding around like just and it was like and then as soon as I finished they were clapping and it was like whoa. So it felt cool so I kind of like stole the show from Aida in Verona at the amphitheater.
Wow.
20,000 people but they could hear me. That's the coolest thing, right? Because I was
The
at the
way it
and
echoes, the way it's built,
it's
the
like
acoustics
perfect.
in that design are legendary. You know what I mean?
They
So.
designed it with the model of the ear.
Hmm.
So where you stand, it was like the ear, and then all the seats are around it like that. They designed it
Yeah.
with an ear model, which
Focus
is kind of
the sound
genius.
into one area, regardless where you are. You hear the best of everything, right? Like,
You can hear it, yeah. So that was thrilling. It was
oh,
just beyond words, that one, yeah.
yeah,
Because it was just impromptu, and it was, it wasn't a planned performance, but and then
just kind of did it,
people apparently had
right?
posted it and stuff. But I sang opera for my little niece. She was only 1 year at the time, and her face is hilarious. So it was like so funny what she was doing, and and I hit this note, and then her face is like, and she's like doing this hilarious face, and you don't know if she's gonna laugh or cry. She ended up laughing, thank goodness. Um, But now it's got 376,000 hits.
Oh,
My sister like posted it, and then I got this message from this UK. I don't even know who they were, um, but and I was like, who are you? What is this all about? And they want to use that video on their actually something for the BBC, and they want to
no way.
promote classical music in the UK. It's on a classical station,
Yeah.
and just to show like the effect that it has even on babies. And I'm like, oh, okay, sure, you can use it. But yeah, it just went viral. Like in 3 days, there was
Wow.
11,000 hits, and then it's now 376.
Oh,
I can't.
so
It's like crazy.
I gotta ask you,
Yeah.
doing all these accomplishments, having all these bands you played with playing all around the world, stealing the show in Venice, when I reached out to you to tell you I run a little podcast out of Ontario, what made you say, yeah, yeah, you know what I mean? I'll come on your show. Like,
Yeah, I don't. I consider you like, a fellow, like a brother in music, right? Like it doesn't, to
it's a
me,
family in that sense, right? Like,
absolutely. It doesn't matter. Like I said, I played for Lincoln Alexander, and he's amazing, and rest his soul as well.
oh,
He was so great for this. Like, he's really missed, extremely missed. I miss him because he used to call me because I would do jazz and opera, and he's like, not very many people do that.
mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, but he's a person still. He's human, and he has the same needs that we all do, even though he's accomplished, right? And so, um, yeah, and so to me, all of us are equal. Like I don't
Yeah.
care. I look past everything else, but so when you ask me to do this, of course, I'm like, yeah, if I'm available,
Well,
absolutely. I'm not, you know.
I kind of feel the same way. Like we're all equal, man. We sit down, we all eat, we all drink, we all do this, we all have that, right? Like to
Hmm.
sit down today, kind of not knowing a whole lot. I knew I found your music. I loved your voice. Reached out to you, and you're like, "Come down to Hamilton. We're doing this." I just kind of show up out of the whim, and
There
then
you
to sit
go.
down and
Yeah.
have dinner. But to have this conversation now and hear all these accomplishments, to know that I was invited to sit and have dinner with you guys and shit, what an honor. Uh,
Oh,
thank you so much. like, like,
you're very
thank
sweet.
you.
Well, no, thank you for, you made the trip. It's a big drive, and I appreciate that, you care enough to find out about people, and then to just, I like what you're doing. I think it's great, and I think it's just, spreading music, spreading joy, and educating people, and saying this is, the musician's life. It is a struggle, honestly.
Oh,
It's not
it don't
easy.
stop for nobody, man. you know, like,
You have to keep going. The next gig, next gig, next gig. Always like, what's the next? And you have to fill your plate, right? Um, but at the same time, it's worth it. And but people like you're a musician, and you're exposing musicians and helping. So I think it's fantastic, what you're doing. I just can't show this to my son because there's a lot of swearing. So
no,
besides
I
that,
know, I know. We're not a child show. We're
just
not definitely
kidding.
not a family show over here in the Boneyard. Some of our episodes might be okay, but for the most part, yeah, we're definitely. I would say 18 plus for sure, right?
That's all right. It's
yeah,
all good.
I
I
tried to
know you're
hold my
still
tongue tonight
promoting.
because I know you're very reserved, you're religious as well, right? So
Yeah,
did
no, I
can
yeah,
I
for sure.
kind of ask you something? You don't even got to answer this. Did you retain your religion over the years?
Oh, I believe that I grow like every day, hopefully. Just like I wouldn't even say it's religion, no,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
spirituality, right?
Perfect.
So
Yes. Thank you.
because I don't believe in religiosity in like
yes.
if I go to church, that doesn't make me a good person, doesn't make me a Christian, it doesn't make me even nice. It just makes me a person that goes to church. right?
Yes.
Um, and so I've learned at a really young age that people in church, it doesn't make a difference. Like we're all, so I just noticed that sometimes churches would like segregate and be like, oh, I go to this one, you go to that one. Well, we can't be friends. And I'm like, that's ridiculous, you know?
But
And so at a young age, I realized that there is prejudice like all the time, even within churches where it shouldn't.
just within the church of
And
itself, like you have your
yeah,
Methodist, Baptists down south, they hated each other, but they were part of the same fucking church in that sense,
well, it
right? Like
should
you
be the
have,
same. It should be the same goal. And so I think, like, honestly, I just call myself, I love Jesus. I think he's the bomb. Like, he is
you're very
amazing. Everything
spiritual.
that he did. And
Yeah.
so I believe in he was living there, and like they crucified him, like they killed him because of what he was preaching. So if you
Hmm.
think about that, it's like nowadays, if Jesus was alive, they'd probably kill him again
Oh, yeah.
because he was radical and he was saying to the Pharisees and whatnot, like, okay, the first person that has no sin, that has never done anything wrong, you cast the first stone and kill this prostitute. He was the first one to like really stand up for women, and he was the
Hmm.
first one to challenge the Pharisees and Sadducees and everything. And so I'm a firm like Jesus follower. I'm not a human follower, like, in terms of
No,
what man has created. I think man has really royally messed up.
I have
Um,
more respect for you saying that than just following the book blindly. Like a lot of
no,
people I've
not
known, I
like
wear
that.
scars from these people, you know, and
Yeah,
it really
totally. So do
pushed
I.
me away from religion with that aspect.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
but on
Well, because it
now that
becomes
I'm
this clique,
older,
and yeah,
right? Like I have my own opinion. I do believe we're definitely energy and you can't destroy energy. So when you die, something does happen. But as
yeah.
someone who's died a few times, I my energy wasn't released though in that sense. So I I can't
Wow.
say one way or another where you go or what happens because for me it was just black until I woke up. You know what I mean? So
Well, when I was 19, I was in a really bad horse accident. It threw me headfirst into a tree, and the doctor said
oh,
I was going to die, or I would wake up in the morning with brain damage and for the rest of my life. So I do understand. I know what it feels like. And
yeah.
there's been a few close calls as well. And I just also I'll remember after that moment, I'm like, I am never going to judge again. I'm never going to
Yeah.
have this, like, you know, this
No,
side,
I
that
had
side.
this
We are all
this
exactly equal,
same
and life is
experience that way.
precious.
Yeah, when I
Wow.
come
See,
to and
you
everything was
realize.
done, I was like, I have no reason to judge nobody no more.
Yeah,
Whether you do
exactly.
this or you do that, that's not up to
Yeah,
me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just gonna do what
so
I
true.
do and just gel with whoever comes around if I can. You know, if you don't
Well,
gel with me, then
exactly.
I'll
You
go
got
on
it.
my way. You know.
But that's the thing. And so, like, I believe in being colorblind in a way. So that I don't look at people's skin color. I don't
Hmm.
look at their race or ethnicity or anything like this. I look at their spirit and their heart,
Their
you know,
passion,
and
right? Like,
their passion. But yeah, like so, if we all could just like kind of put sunglasses on or just close our eyes or something, and work the world that way instead of like, because as soon as you see somebody and oh they're a different color or this or that, um, like I've been judged for being a woman. I've been judged for
oh,
having a child. I have been so judged for so many things. I've been at the back of the bus many times. I know
yes.
what it's like, but still I'm going to choose to love those people even though it actually hurts a lot. I'm still going to love them and I'm not going to judge them back. And I'm going to say, I just understand that where you come from, you might not be able to see
Well,
clearly. And that's it.
that's another huge problem with today. There's so many teams to pick from, and everyone picks
Yeah.
a team. Whether let's take the Leafs for example, being Canadian, they'll fight to the death for that team, whether they're right or wrong on it. It doesn't matter what you say or he says or she says. I'm on this team. Fuck off, type deal, you know. until
It's
you
so
can
funny
sit
you
down
say
and
that.
have
Yeah.
these conversations about whatever the topic is, whether it's sexuality or your religion, whether it's your preference for this or that, drug use, alcohol use, mental health, even, until you are able to open up and hear the other side and accept what they're saying without just picking a team right off the bat, we're not going to change, though, in that aspect. But
You're
music.
absolutely right. Yeah. Well, see, that's the thing. Music, it breaks all the barriers because,
Hmm.
like, anyone from different religions and race and color, they can all sing the same song at the same time. And then,
No.
bam, you have unity. But it's really hard to have unity nowadays. But I think that, like, this is where, like, the words of Jesus I like. I don't like the letter of the law necessarily in anything, but he said that against such things there is no law. When you're gentle, when you're kind, when you're compassionate, when you have self control, when you're faithful, and all of these things, against such things there's no law. And I love that because if every human just lived by that, just be kinder, be gentle. Like we don't think about that as actually something that's important, but it is. And self control, that kind of stuff, right?
To
And
be able to
compassion,
step
just
back,
it covers
take a
everything.
breath, and be like, okay, man, you know,
Yeah,
Whew,
exactly.
wait a
That would
sec here, right?
eliminate so many fights, but
Mm.
marriages and just sibling rivalries and stuff. Like if you think about it, just put others
Just because you
first and
grew
just,
up, say, on the other side of town, west and east side, that's a huge
it
fucking thing, no
shouldn't make
matter
a
where you
difference
go.
at
Like,
all. Yeah.
me at McDonald's, I don't care where you live. I don't care if you're on the left or east side. Let's go to McDonald's, have some fries. You know what I mean?
There you
Like,
go.
right?
In a
Like,
way, McDonald's kind of unifies the world, doesn't it? It's
oh
everywhere.
yeah, it's a terrible thing to say, but yeah, it's definitely universal, right?
Yeah, yeah. But it's,
So,
yeah, no, it's so true though, just to be like, to have a common ground where
mhm.
we can all speak freely and know that you're not judged and you can be loved no matter what.
Yeah, well, that'd be a dream come true for sure.
Yeah.
So, with all the worldly talk, how many languages do you speak then?
Well, okay, so I sing in different languages. So
Yes, I gathered
I'm like a
that, right?
mimicker, right? So when I
Okay.
sing, I'm a mimicker in that way. So when I go to different countries, they think I speak their language, like non mangiare latticini, per favore. So in Italian, I'd be like, I don't eat any lactose, thank you very much. And they're like, oh, come
No milk.
stai? Sta bene?
All right.
And I'm like, so I can catch on to things if I'm there. Just come. So I've taken a lot of Italian,
Hmm.
and I tend to speak like Spanish and Portuguese with a bit of an Italian accent. But so Portuguese é like olha que coisa mais linda, mais cheia de graça, a menina que vem e que passa. I just really like some of these languages, so I started learning them, different songs. And so yeah, Spanish, a little bit of French, and German, and a little bit of Dutch because I grew up with a lot of Dutch.
Oh, okay.
In 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, which is very similar to German as well. 1, 2, 3, 4.
They're very
Um,
close, yes.
and then Gaelic is actually similar as well, but then it takes some Latin and different sort of inflections. So it's a héna do a trí a cathar chuige sé a chanachide.
See,
And
that I
that's
couldn't do
Gaelic.
because of my teeth break, but
You might be able to, I don't know.
I could try, but we won't do it
A
live on the
héna
air,
do.
that's for sure.
I'm going to teach you to count to three in Gaelic. A
All right.
héna do a tree. So a hén,
Hey,
a do,
a do,
a tree.
a tree.
There.
Thank you. Thank you.
So a hen is like, the chicken, a hen, a hen.
Yeah, yeah.
And a doe is like, give me some money, and then we'll go climb a tree. A tree. So a hen, a doe, a tree.
Oh, perfect. I'm usually good at like picking up on language. Like I know they were making fun of me a bit last night on the show speaking French. I couldn't quite pick out what they, but it doesn't matter to me, right? Like even
That's
my friends
okay.
from the Philippines, Roxy fucking Fox there, she speaks to me in Philippine a fair bit to see, just to test me, right? She's like, "What did I say?" I'm like, "Well, you probably said this." You know what I mean? Like, but
That's
But
funny.
if you
Well,
don't
it's
use
good
it
to
all the
learn
time, you
languages.
lose it, though. You know what I mean? Like at one
Well,
time,
in
I
a
was pretty
way,
good
yeah.
with German. I could speak and understand it and read it, but it's been like 4 or 5 years now since I've even tried to, so kind of lost
Oh
that part of
wow.
me, right? But
Well, the Deutsch, yeah, is I think when you hear it again, like you said, it comes back though, right? Like if you go to
yeah,
Germany, um, and then so if I say wie geht's, you would say
DK. No, I wouldn't say nothing because it
it's
sounded
a
me.
wie geht's is like how are you? Sehr gut,
Oh,
yeah, I'm
I'm
very good.
Gugu.
Yeah, sehr gut.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
Yeah, because well, I was
that's
supposed to go
okay.
over there for the Rock and Ram Festival right before the pandemic happened and shit, right? So I really
Oh,
buckled
really?
down and started learning, doing my daily exercise. I'm at work, people are trying to talk to me. I've got the fucking thing in my ears teaching me German, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, yeah. The Deutsch, yeah, I found it difficult to learn German at first, and then it just switched, and I could do it, and I don't even know what
yes,
switched, but I understood that the words itself, like sie tränen or something, it's like I'm crying, like the words are emotions, and then I put that together when I was singing, and I'm like, wow, it makes sense. So
I
so that
find that
helped
with
a lot.
French, like spending
French
so
is
much
emotive
time
too.
around, especially the last fucking half a year or whatever, being up in Quebec a lot and stuff, to watch them speak and to listen to them over and over, the passion they put into their words, it's different than English. English just seems like a boring, dead language to me. Like after hearing and experiencing all these travels I've done and listening to these people talk and those people talk,
Well, you have to listen to Newfies talk then.
Oh,
They're talking
that's a
so fast,
whole
I
different experience. Yeah. My
because
parents
they've
moved
got
out
like the
east.
Irish thing and
It's like an Irish Canadian terrible New York accent, all
it's
mashed
like
into one,
everything
right? Like,
altogether. Yeah,
yeah.
it's a lot.
Well, it's funny. I used to
That's
like when I moved back to Canada here. I had a huge Southern accent for a fucking long time, man. But I've
yeah.
been here for 4 years now. It's kind of dissipated. But as soon as I talk to buddies back home, that accent comes right back.
And where did you live exactly?
Oh, I'm originally from, well, born in Canada, kind of raised back and forth from Georgia to here. And then I spent some time in like Louisiana, Mississippi, up in Virginia, right? I was out in Alaska
Oh,
for a
okay.
bit, right?
Oh,
Sault
nice.
Ste.
Yeah,
Marie there, New York, kind of went all over for a long time. Just kind of,
Georgia.
yeah.
I went to Georgia with my dad in Atlanta,
Oh,
Georgia.
whereabouts?
Um, we stayed in the like Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, okay.
Um,
North of me then.
yeah, I remember them asking me, they're like, "So where are you from anyway?" And I'm like, "I'm from Canada." And they're like, "All right, that's cool. Now where do you all live?" And I'm like, "Well, like in a house." And they're like, "I live in a house. I thought you lived in an igloo or something." And I'm like, "Nope, not an igloo." And
Oh,
they're like, "So how do y'all get around?" And I'm like a car. You do the snowshoes and all that. And I'm like, no,
no.
don't do
Uh,
snowshoes. They thought I'm like, are you serious? They didn't know. I'm like, just imagine
no.
Buffalo or Detroit. It's like right across the border.
I know it's
It's not
right
that
there,
far.
right? My Moz is the
But
worst.
they're not
She's probably
educated
she would go
in
down
Canada.
there and tell them we ate whales. Lived in igloos. That's probably where a lot of that
I should
stems
have
from,
said that.
fucking people like my Moz. Oh yeah, we sled dog all over the place.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, I should have said something that would have been funnier. But I was like surprised. I'm like, really? You asking that? But
Yeah,
like we learn about like growing up in Canada, you learn about the states, you learn about the whole world, but
yeah.
we do
World
learn like
educated, I like to say, where the states
we're
are
quite yeah.
individually educated. If
They
you
know
live
about
in
their own
Georgia,
land, yeah.
you learn about Georgia. and you learn about the Alamo. You know, you live in Texas, you learn about Texas and the Alamo, right? Like they're very segregated in that way, state to state. It's
Interesting.
almost like its own little country, each state that you go
Oh,
into in
wow.
that
Hmm.
aspect. It's kind of a different world where here in Canada you can kind of go east to west and you're still in Canada. Like you
Yeah,
don't
we
really feel
know.
like you're in a different place in that sense, right? Like
So we actually taught like the geography and the presidents and of
yeah,
the United States, and then yeah, I remember they were asking me, so what's the name of my president? I'm like, oh, prime minister, you mean? Like,
yeah,
yeah, just
right.
just little things like that. I'm like, I thought they would know that. But anyway, that's okay. Again, not gonna judge. Like that's just how they're brought up. Is not really their fault.
No, right? No, it's so
No.
true though. And being back and forth for both worlds, being educated down there, here the spelling was always a big trouble. We spell colors Color. You guys put a
Instead
U
of
in
the
there.
U.
You know what I mean? Like,
I know there's a lot of U's just for fun.
yeah,
Neighbor. We like
yeah,
U's. I don't know.
yeah.
So how do I get me one of those cool T-shirts?
Right here, I just put my order
Those are
in.
awesome.
I'm going to
Oh,
drop off the cash to have them made. And then, what size are you?
oh, that's a personal question. No, I'm just
Oh,
kidding.
we'll talk later about
Um,
that. Sorry, I didn't mean that. What color would you like? We have black, red,
I'm
and
just kidding.
orange.
I'm probably well, probably black. I think.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
We got a bunch coming. I'll make sure you get one for sure, 100%.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like it. The bull on the
Ah,
front. It's
my
good.
pleasure.
Looks cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for,
Oh,
having me on the show. It's been, great to kind of get you a little bit more and good questions, and it's
I
been a good
told you I
day.
had 100 more questions, so we'll end that tonight with my questions, and then next time you guys are on, or next time you're on, well, I got 100 more for you, right? So,
All right.
but is there anything we didn't cover tonight? Like, is there any shout outs you want to give? Anywhere? Give your merch a fucking plug again, right? And,
Exactly. Well, yeah, absolutely. So like Birdland, definitely. Um, it's just a great album all through and through. It was just played on 91.1 Jazz FM on Sunday. And
oh,
I'm played with the Jimmy Stahl Big Band as well. You can hear me on the radio 91.1 as well on Sunday nights. I'm played almost every Sunday night. Last time I listened, it was Ella Fitzgerald and then Loralee McGuirl. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. That's like my dream come true. Love it. So, yeah, so that's Swinging in the Pews, it's called, with Jimmy Stahl Big Band. And this one, um, I don't know, just shout out, yeah, to Guido Basso and Bruce Turney and Clark Johnson, Chris Lamont, Jude Recca, Bill Hollinati, Sterling Colvin, that's right, Chevette Colvin, they were on this as
oh,
well. And they're incredible. This was recorded at Canterbury Music Company in Toronto, where Aretha Franklin herself and Ella and
oh.
Diana Krall, as well as uh, Carole King, have
That'd be a
recorded
bit
there.
of an honor to be able to
It was
sing
incredible. Yeah, so
and
that's where
play
this
there,
was
right?
recorded. Yeah, exactly. And then Justin Gray did the mastering engineering. A fantastic bass player as well. Um, but yeah, and the cover was done uh, by Natasha Vaughn, and she
Yeah.
does really cool photography. She made it because it's Birdland, so there's kind of like
Oh
feathers
wow.
around me, and I love birds, obviously. I'm a
Yeah, I've
bird
got a
girl.
few ravens tattooed on me up here, a couple here,
Oh
right?
yeah. I
Yeah,
don't have
yeah.
any tattoos. No tattoos, if you were wondering.
Not one. I was gonna ask you
No one.
later on. I didn't want to do that on the air, put you on the spot or nothing. But I'm covered
No,
from
no
like here
tattoos.
down. Right.
Oh
So
wow. I
yeah.
just feel like it's like so permanent,
It
and I don't know. I mean,
See, that's what I love about what I've done with my tats. Not to like fucking say this or that, but I can put on a t-shirt and a pair of shorts and you see one of my tattoos. And that's my Woodstock 99, baby. Right?
mm,
But
Well,
my
that's
the
smart.
ones
So
I
then you
have
don't
on
have to.
me are very personal. They mean a
Mm,
lot. They're very personal to me, and they're only for me and maybe a few select few. If I'm not
mm.
drunk and rip my clothes off and you see all my tats or whatever, right? But you know,
Yeah, no, for
it's
you.
very personal. So I understand not getting one or not, you know, being. You see guys they have just their arms done. It's like, why the fuck do
Mm.
you just have your arms done, dude? Is that just to show off? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I
I
don't
don't know. I
know.
don't
Maybe
get
they
it.
like it.
Right? They might
Yeah, no,
love it.
that's
They might
cool. I
like
think
it, but
it's yeah,
um,
no, I think it's great, and I think it's like it means a lot. I know in the there's a lot like tribal tattoos where they began. It meant you were a part of a clan or a
something.
tribe, and it meant a lot, and you had to have the marking like to be a part of some a group, and that's like kind of where it started, as well as the Egyptians they tattooed as well, and
Oh, the
um,
tattoos is one of
Mayans
the oldest
everywhere.
art forms known to man as far as finding preserved skin. Everybody we find further and further back, they all have a tattoo on them or some kind of
Mm-hmm.
ink or injection of whether it's the needle and thread with the fucking charcoal base, you rubbed it in and then it stained your skin permanently, right? Or as the
Yeah,
Hawaiians with
that
the
would be
hog
painful.
hair, right? And then their
Oh,
volcano ash that's mixed into the ink, and then that gets tapped into you. It's
wow.
not even a gun, you know, like
Yeah, I couldn't do
yeah,
that.
it's definitely a personal thing I find myself, right? And that's kind of why I've kept all mine kind of personal, to where I just throw on a t-shirt, pair of shorts, and that's for me to see in that sense, right? But
No, I think it's great.
I'm
Yeah.
pretty heavily scarred, so like it's all kind of ties in together with everything. The
Wow.
whip marks, my scarring here from being beat, my scar from being sick. You know what I mean? Like
Oh my
it's all
goodness.
one. Yeah, it's all.
It's like your life. It sounds like your life story. It's like a work of art now. You're a
Yeah,
living work of art.
pretty close to it. I'm getting there. I've still got a few more
Yeah.
tales to tell and get inked onto me, right? But
Mm,
it's getting there.
that's amazing. Yeah. No, I respect that. I'm just, I
But
don't know. I'm
on the same
too
end,
chicken
not
or something.
having ink, I highly respect that as well because it shows that, you know, you kind of worship your body's a temple in that aspect. You know what I mean? So you treat it as you see fit, and if you don't want a tattoo, you don't get one, regardless who's getting one or right. Like, it,
I know I have been pressured. I've been pressured. Like you
no
should get
doubt.
a job. Come on, why are you? And
Yeah.
like really high pressured. I'm like, it's okay. It's just my choice. It's not like I could do it. It's not too crazy expensive. But um,
Well, I always kind of
I'm
laugh.
just
You can
yeah.
see people with random tattoos on them. They just got this here, they got this here, that there.
Yeah, that's okay.
Like I know it's for them, but as
Mm.
someone just looking at them as an artist and someone that appreciates the art of tattooing, it's like, why'd you get that, man? Right? Like,
Hmm.
or whoever got it. It's like, why? Right?
I used to draw like on myself all the time, and I like that because I drew it, and it would kind of be there even in permanent marker, which is probably not good for you, but
No, but
and then it would just kind of wash off over time,
hmm
or like henna. I know a friend of mine she did that, and it was kind of cool because it stays for amount of time, and then it fades away, and you can do it again. You can do it different, and then you're a blank canvas again. So I think I would do something semi-permanent, and
yeah.
then
Always
I
been
don't know.
fascinated with that Hannah, where they do the whole
Yeah,
arm
the
piece, or they
permanent.
do it on the
Yeah, it's
side of the
really
face,
pretty.
and they can make
Hmm.
that look. That's an art for sure, man. Like how to do that,
Yeah,
like
definitely. Yeah,
very
totally is.
attractive
Yeah.
when it's done properly. You know what I mean? Regardless who's wearing it, right? Like,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, very much. So. Very
but
cool. Well, it's good to get to know you more, though, and
yes, thank you very much.
I
It's
hope the show
fucking
is
an
well.
honor. Thank you so much for having me down
Oh,
today.
the honor's
Having
mine. Thank
sitting,
you.
eating dinner, having some drinks, and then tonight having this full on almost basically 2 hour conversation, which
Yeah, has it
obviously
been?
we could talk for hours as well, right? But yeah, thank you
Yeah,
so much.
exactly.
It's an honor.
Oh, no problem. Thank you. I appreciate it very much, and keep doing, what you're doing and spreading love and joy and peace.
Yes, of course,
Love
man.
it. Yeah.
I always like to say, play it loud, play it proud.
That's
Like,
right.
regardless what it is, crank it, sing it at the top of your lungs. If I get it out of you,
Hmm.
right? Like, and
Exactly.
so I'm gonna take us off the air, and we'll go from there.
All right. Thanks
Oh,
again.
I gotta go over here. Yeah.